Welcome, brave learner. What if a person could outsmart laziness the way a chess master outmaneuvers a trap? One small move at a time. Kai's alarm split the dawn like a silver blade. Yet he lay cocooned in blankets, scrolling through videos of people doing things he wished he had done. His room was a museum of postponed beginnings. A dusty guitar, an unopened planner, sticky notes with half-dreams. Laziness wasn't loud in his life. It was soft and persuasive, like a sofa that whispered. Later, he listened every day. At breakfast, his grandmother placed a flyer beside his cereal bowl. City Innovation Challenge. 30 days. Build something that solves a real problem. Prize money, mentorship, and a headline that could shove open any door. The flyer trembled faintly under the kitchen fan, as if it were alive and impatient. Kai stared, then laughed it away. Build something? He could barely build a schedule. On the way to class, the poster appeared again on a campus wall. Flames of orange letters licking at his attention. A crowd gathered. In the center stood Mira, his former classmate, the kind who volunteered for hard tasks and smiled at deadlines. "I'm entering," she told a friend. "I've already mapped the milestones." Milestones. Kai tasted the word and felt an ache of envy. He had milestones too, just invisible and always moved to tomorrow. That evening, the universe made one more attempt. The power went out in Kai's apartment complex, and the elevator stalled between floors. In the dark, someone's child started crying. A neighbor tried calming him, but the air felt thin with panic. Kai lifted his phone, the weak flashlight turning fear into shapes. Buttons, wires, a panel slightly ajar. He remembered a tutorial he had watched and almost practiced. Almost. With careful fingers and the building manager's directions over the phone, he helped reset the system. The elevator sighed into motion, and when the doors opened, applause filled the corridor like light. "Did you do that?" asked the manager. Kai shrugged. "Just followed steps I saw online." "Following steps is harder than it looks," she said. "You should join that innovation challenge." He walked home under streetlights that looked like patient moons. Laziness tugged at his sleeve, suggesting a nap before decisions. But the memory of the crying child pressed back. He imagined a device that could guide residents during outages, smart lanterns that taught calm in a crisis. Not grand, not glamorous, but real. A small idea that could grow legs if someone walked with it. He set a timer for 10 minutes and opened his laptop. 10 minutes to name the problem, not to solve the world. He wrote, "People panic in outages because they lose light and direction." Then he added, "Make a light that gives both." The timer chimed. He stood up surprised. The work had been almost pleasant. Laziness, startled, blinked. He applied to the competition before he could retreat. After clicking submit, Kai stared at the screen with a cold thrill running through his ribs. 30 days. A rival who already had milestones. A brain trained to delay. This would require something he had never given himself. Steady effort. But he had one advantage he had overlooked. He could be clever about how he worked. Part 2. The first crack in the wall. The following morning, the sun rose with a golden blaze over the rooftops of Alex's quiet town. He lay in bed, heavy with the same old laziness, but something felt different. The professor's words from yesterday kept echoing in his head. Success comes from small daily habits, not sudden miracles. Alex turned to the window. Outside, other boys were already up, practicing for the upcoming innovation challenge, the town's most awaited competition, where young minds displayed projects, inventions, and bold ideas. The winner would earn a scholarship, recognition, and a chance to shape their future. For years, Alex had watched from the sidelines, too lazy to join, convincing himself he wasn't ready. This year, the professor had whispered, "You should try." But Alex laughed it off. How can someone like me compete? Still, that morning, something inside cracked. He sat up and muttered, "Just 10 minutes. Let me try something today." He pulled out an old notebook buried under his clutter. Its pages were blank, waiting. At first, his hand trembled. His mind tempted him to quit. The bed looked so soft, the phone so inviting. But then he remembered the bamboo story the professor had told him. 5 years of unseen roots before miracle growth. Perhaps today could be his first drop of water for his own roots. He wrote one line, idea for the competition, a system to save time for students who always procrastinate. Irony struck him. A lazy boy building a plan against laziness. The thought made him smirk. But as his pen scratched across the page, he felt a strange fire in his chest. The day unfolded differently. Instead of wasting hours scrolling, he gave himself a challenge. Work for 2 minutes, then stop if it's boring. But those 2 minutes grew into 10, then into 20. Slowly, he began sketching a device. Something simple, a digital planner that reminded students of deadlines but also broke tasks into smaller steps. It was rough, clumsy, hardly a brilliant plan. Yet for the first time, Alex wasn't dreaming of success while lying still. He was building it one small step at a time. Evening fell, and with it came temptation. His friends called him out to play games, to waste hours like before. Alex almost said yes. His old self pulled at him, whispering, "Tomorrow will be fine. You've already done something today." But then he remembered the professor's warning. Tomorrow is a lie we keep telling ourselves. So Alex stayed. He worked another half hour. When he finally looked up, the stars had spilled across the sky. His notebook wasn't blank anymore. It was alive. That night, as he fell asleep, he realized something powerful. He hadn't transformed, but he had begun. The wall of laziness that had trapped him for years now had its first crack. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. Notice how the story uses past continuous. He was building. He was lying. To show actions happening over time, and past simple, he stayed, he worked. To show clear decisions or completed actions. This mix makes the story feel alive. Phrases like a crack in the wall are idiomatic, meaning the beginning of change. Also, tomorrow is a lie teaches us how procrastination tricks the mind. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. Why was Alex afraid to join the innovation challenge before? 2. What small action did he take that started his change? 3. Can you retell what he did in the morning and in the evening, using past simple verbs? Part 3. The weight of old habits. The next week began with promise, but also with traps. Alex had drawn sketches of his project, a planner device that would guide students step by step. He even thought of naming it the Time Lantern, a tool to light the path through procrastination. But laziness is a clever enemy. It doesn't vanish just because you have a notebook full of ideas. On Monday morning, Alex set an alarm to wake up early and refine his design. The alarm rang like a trumpet of war. He opened one eye, muttered, "Just 5 minutes more," and drifted back. When he woke again, the sun was already high. The morning wasted. His chest tightened with guilt, but then came the sly whisper, "It's fine. You'll work better at night." That night arrived, and instead of working, he found himself laughing at videos, his notebook untouched. By Tuesday, he felt the old cycle returning. His brain argued, "Why bother? Others like Mira are far ahead. She probably has a team, a strategy, maybe even a prototype. You're just doodling in a notebook." The thought stung. In class, Myra's confidence sparkled. She explained to her friends how she was building a solar-powered water purifier. "If we win," she said, "we'll donate prototypes to villages with clean water problems." The group admired her bold vision. Alex shrank in his seat. His idea seemed so small compared to hers. That afternoon, he almost tore his sketches apart. But then fate intervened. On the way home, he saw a younger student sitting by the library steps, crying quietly. The boy's laptop lay open, a blank document glowing on the screen. Alex asked gently, "What's wrong?" The boy sniffled. "I can't finish my assignment. I keep saying I'll start, but then I get distracted. Now it's due tomorrow and I'm doomed." Alex froze. The boy's words were like an echo of his own life. "I'll start tomorrow." He pulled out his notebook and showed the boy his sketches. "Look, this is what I'm trying to make. A planner that breaks tasks into smaller steps so you don't get stuck." The boy's eyes widened. "That would help me so much." For the first time, Alex felt his idea wasn't foolish. It was needed. That night, when laziness whispered again, Alex fought back with new weapon, purpose. He repeated to himself, "Someone needs this." I can't quit. Instead of binging on distractions, he coded a basic outline for the app version of his time lantern. It was clumsy, but it worked enough to show a calendar and break tasks into daily goals. Still, the battle was far from over. On Wednesday, he skipped his routine again. On Thursday, he wasted hours staring at his screen, paralyzed by doubts. But on Friday, he forced himself to follow the professor's advice. 2 minutes only. And just like before, 2 grew into 20. By the week's end, Alex realized something essential. Discipline was not about being perfect every day. It was about returning after failure, again and again. Each time he stumbled, he had a choice: surrender to the old wall of laziness or chip away at it. And little by little, cracks were spreading. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. Notice how verbs like whispered, stung, shrank, froze add emotional weight. These are strong past simple verbs that carry feeling. Idioms like a trumpet of war or chip away at it make the language vivid. Also, the contrast between laziness, whisper, and purpose spoke shows how abstract ideas can act like characters. A powerful storytelling tool. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. What trick did laziness play on Alex at the start of the week? 2. How did meeting the younger student change Alex's view of his idea? 3. Can you describe one of Alex's failures and one of his small victories using past simple verbs? Part 4. The Rival Shadow. The town buzzed with excitement as the innovation challenge drew closer. Posters painted every wall, and conversations hummed in cafes, classrooms, and markets. The air itself seemed charged with ambition. For Alex, the excitement was mixed with fear. His Time Lantern app was still in its early shape. Clunky menus, a few bugs, and design that looked more like a school project than a polished invention. Meanwhile, Myra's progress shone like a rising star. On Monday morning, the competition organizers held a showcase at the University Hall. Contestants could present a sneak peek of their ideas. Mira walked on stage first, holding a sleek model of her solar purifier. The machine gleamed under the lights, its glass panels catching fire from the sunbeams streaming through the window. "This," she declared, "is more than a project. It is hope in places where children drink dirty water. With this, sunlight becomes survival." The audience broke into thunderous applause. Alex sat in the crowd, clutching his old notebook like a shield. His heart thudded against his ribs. His app looked ridiculous next to her brilliance. When his turn came, he walked to the stage slowly, each step a battle. The screen behind him showed the rough interface of his app. He swallowed hard, his throat dry as sand. "My idea," he began, his voice trembling, "is called a Time Lantern. It helps students like me, like many of us, fight procrastination. It breaks big tasks into small daily goals and gives reminders so we don't fall into the trap of 'I'll start tomorrow.'" A nervous chuckle escaped him, but then he looked at the younger boy in the audience, the one who had cried over his unfinished homework. The boy gave him a thumbs up. Something inside Alex steadied. "I know it isn't shiny," he continued, "but I believe it's real, because procrastination ruins more futures than we admit. This app is for anyone who feels stuck." There was polite applause, nowhere near Myra's storm of claps. But in the silence afterward, a professor leaned toward another and whispered, "Practical, relatable. If he can polish it, this could work." Still, doubt gnawed at Alex. Walking off stage, Mira stopped him with a smile that felt sharp. "Nice idea," she said smoothly, "but students don't win prizes with half-finished apps. Maybe next year." Her words pierced him deeper than any silence. That evening, Alex sat at his desk staring at his screen, fingers frozen. He almost deleted the project entirely. The old voice of laziness returned, smug. "She's right. Why struggle? You'll only embarrass yourself." But then his grandmother knocked gently, bringing tea. She set the cup down and looked at his tired face. "Kai," she said softly, for Alex was his full name, though everyone called him by his nickname. "Do you know what lanterns are for?" "To give light," he murmured. "No," she smiled. "To guide people when they are lost in the dark." She touched the notebook on his desk. "Maybe this lantern is not just for others. Maybe it is for you." Her words struck him like a match in the night. Perhaps the Time Lantern was his way out of darkness, too. That night, Instead of deleting his project, he made a vow. He would not compete against Myra's brilliance. He would compete against his own laziness. If he won that battle, no defeat on stage could destroy him. And so, for the first time, Alex worked deep into the night. Not for the prize, not for applause, but it proved to himself that he could keep moving forward. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. This part uses comparisons, looked ridiculous next to her brilliance, and metaphors. Words struck him like a match in the night. To make emotions stronger. Notice the phrase gnawed at Alex, an idiom meaning troubled him deeply. Also, when Mira says maybe next year, it's not a real suggestion, but sarcasm. Understanding tone in English dialogue is just as important as vocabulary. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. How did the audience react differently to Mira and Alex's presentations? 2. What effect did Myra's words have on Alex? 3. How did his grandmother change his perspective? Part 5. The brilliant plan. The following days stretched like a tightrope. Each morning, Alex woke up caught between two choices: slip back into laziness or take one more step toward his goal. The time lantern was still rough, its code fragile, its design awkward. But after his grandmother's words, Alex began to see it differently. It was not just a project. It was a mirror reflecting his own battle. He realized something important. Mira had skill, speed, and confidence, but she also had a predictable strategy. She was disciplined, yes, but predictable. Alex, on the other hand, had always been lazy, and laziness, he thought, is really just misplaced creativity. If he could channel that creativity, he could outsmart his own weakness. So he designed a system for himself, using the very app he was building. He entered his competition tasks into the time lantern as if he were its first user. Then, instead of saying, work all day, the app broke his goals into slices. Morning, fix one small bug. Afternoon, polish one button on the design. Evening, test the app for 5 minutes. The chunks felt laughably small, but that was a trick. Laziness had no room to argue. Just 5 minutes? That's nothing. Fine. And once he started, momentum carried him further. By the end of the week, his app no longer looked like a skeleton. It had a heartbeat. The interface was smoother, the reminder smarter, and the design, while not flashy, began to look purposeful. But Alex wanted more than functionality. He wanted brilliance. He asked himself, what would make this different from a normal planner? One evening, while sipping tea, he remembered the boy on the library steps, panicked over his assignment. The boy didn't just need reminders. He needed encouragement. Someone or something to tell him, you can do it. Don't quit now. That was the spark. Alex added a feature he called a mentor voice. Instead of just buzzing with cold reminders, the app spoke with short motivational phrases whenever a task appeared. Not generic quotes, but words drawn from the user's own goals. For example, if a student entered, finish my essay, the time lantern would remind them not only with a deadline, but with a phrase like, remember, this essay brings you closer to your dream of being a writer. The more Alex coded, the more excited he grew. He poured his own struggles into the app, designing it the way he wished something had guided him years ago. Meanwhile, Myra's purifier dominated conversations. Everyone predicted she would win easily, yet Alex stopped comparing. He wasn't racing against her invention anymore. He was racing against his past self. Still, old habits tested him. Some nights he nearly gave into distraction, hovering over games or social media. But then he used his own trick. 2 minutes only. By the time the minutes passed, he was already deep into work. His laziness, once his master, was now being tricked into silence. On the eve of the final submission, Alex sat back and stared at his screen. The Time Lantern app was not perfect, but it was alive, real, and ready. For the first time in his life, he had not quit halfway, and as he closed his laptop, he smiled. The brilliant plan had not been the app itself. It had been turning his laziness into a weapon, breaking every task into such small pieces that even laziness had no excuse. The Time Lantern was proof, not that he had won yet, but that he had already conquered the hardest enemy, himself. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. This section uses contrastive phrases like not perfect, but alive to show progress despite flaws. Notice the idiom had a heartbeat. Of course, an app cannot literally have one, but this metaphor shows it had life and meaning. Also, the phrase channel their creativity means to direct energy in a useful way. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. How did Alex trick his laziness into working for him? 2. What special feature did he add to make the time lantern different? 3. Can you retell how Alex felt at the end of this part using your own words? Part 6. The day of the challenge. The morning of the competition dawned crisp and sharp, the kind of morning when the air feels like it's holding its breath. The town hall was transformed into a battlefield of ideas. Tables stood like islands, each glowing with laptops, models, and prototypes. Judges in dark suits carried clipboards, while an eager crowd filled the balcony, buzzing with expectation. Alex stood at a small station, his laptop open, the time lantern app glowing faintly on the screen. Around him, competitors displayed sleek robots, polished drones, glittering machines powered by solar panels. His project looked almost too simple, too quiet. Then Mira arrived, her team carrying the purifier with proud precision. She greeted the judges with the confidence of someone who already smelled victory. Her machine caught the morning light, sparkling like a jewel. The audience leaned closer. Alex's palms sweated. His throat tightened. Doubt pressed against his ribs. What am I doing here? My app is nothing compared to this. The judges moved in order, stopping at each table. Applause followed Myra's demonstration. The purifier turned murky water into clear drops before their eyes. Gasps filled the hall. A journalist whispered, "Front page tomorrow." Then came Alex's turn. The hall quieted. He cleared his throat, opened the app, and began. "This is a time lantern," he said, forcing steadiness into his voice. "It may not shine under the sun like Myra's purifier, but it shines in another place, inside people who fight with themselves every day." He tapped the screen, showing how the app broke tasks into small steps. Then he demonstrated the mentor voice. A reminder appeared. "Finish your draft today, because every writer begins with a single page." The words felt alive, spoken directly to the heart. The audience leaned in. A murmur spread. One of the professors frowned, not in disapproval, but in interest. A judge typed something quickly into his tablet. Alex continued, "We lose futures not because of lack of talent, but because of delay, procrastination, and fear. This app isn't about machines or water. It's about time, the one resource no one can purify or replace." His words landed heavier than he expected. He saw the younger boy from the library nodding fiercely in the crowd. Something inside Alex unlocked. His voice grew stronger, his back straighter. When he finished, there was silence, and then a ripple of applause. It wasn't thunderous like Myra's, but it was deep, thoughtful. Applause that said, "This matters." Mira smirked politely, as if to say, not enough. And maybe she was right. Her purifier glittered with immediate impact. Alex's app was still rough, its beauty hidden beneath simplicity. But as the judges moved on, Alex realized something. For the first time, he didn't feel like a fraud. He had shown up, spoken clearly, and delivered something real. He hadn't let laziness win. The competition would end with final announcements that evening. For now, all Alex could do was wait. And in that waiting, his heart wrestled not with Mira, not with the judges, but with the oldest rival of all, the whispering voice that had once ruled his life. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. This scene used contrast. Her purifier glittered with immediate impact. His app was still rough, to show differences. Notice metaphors like, "The air feels like it's holding its breath," and applause that said, "This matters." These make descriptions more cinematic. Also, the phrase "he didn't feel like a fraud" is an idiom meaning he no longer doubted his right to be there. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. How did Alex describe the purpose of his app to the judges? 2. Why did the applause for Alex feel different from the applause for Mira? 3. Can you explain the metaphor? Time, the one resource no one can purify or replace. Part 7, the verdict. Evening draped the town hall in velvet shadows. The crowd returned for final announcement. their chatter like restless waves. Contestants stood at the front, lined in a row, their projects gleaming under the lights. Alex's laptop hummed quietly beside Myra's purifier, like a candle flickering beside a bonfire. The head judge, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes, stepped to the microphone. Her voice carried the weight of decision. "This year," she began, "we witnessed creativity and discipline from every corner of this town. The choice was not easy. We judged based on innovation, impact, and execution." Alex's pulse hammered. His palms felt damp. He caught sight of Mira, calm and radiant, her smile already rehearsed. "The second prize," the judge announced, "goes to Mira Shah for her solar water purifier." The hall erupted with applause. Mira bowed gracefully, though her eyes flicked with surprise. She had expected first. She looked sideways at Alex, her smile thinner now. Alex's heart jolted. If Mira was second, then... "And the first prize," the judge continued, "goes to Alex Kumar for his project, the Time Lantern." For a moment, the world froze. Alex's ears rang with disbelief. The applause swelled, not polite this time, but powerful, rolling to the hall like thunder. The younger boy from the library jumped to his feet, cheering wildly. Even professors who had once doubted him were clapping with pride. Alex stumbled forward, the world blurring. He accepted the certificate, the handshake, the spotlight. The judge leaned close and whispered, "You didn't just build an app, you built a mirror. Everyone here has fought procrastination. You gave them hope they could win." His throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to explain that he had built it as much for himself as for anyone else. But words failed. Later, as the crowd spilled into the cool night, Mira approached him. Her tone was polite, but her pride stung. "Congratulations. I didn't expect that." Alex nodded awkwardly. "Your purifier is incredible. Truly, you'll help people in ways my app never can." She studied him for a long moment, then said, "Maybe, but today, your lantern burned brighter." With that, she walked away into the shadows, her words lingering like smoke. Standing under the stars, Alex finally exhaled. The prize felt heavy in his hands, but not as heavy as the truth that dawned inside him. Victory wasn't about applause or certificates, or even proving Mira wrong. Victory was about showing up every day, fighting the whispers of laziness, and choosing action over delay. He had not just won a competition. He had won himself back. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. This section highlights figurative language, like a candle beside a bonfire, a metaphor for contrast, and lingering like smoke, a simile showing words that stayed. The verb erupted, the hall erupted with applause, is vivid, showing sudden energy. Also, notice the phrase, "won himself back." It means more than winning a prize. It means regaining self-control and self-respect. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. What was the surprising result of the competition? 2. Why did the judges choose Alex's project as the winner? 3. What does it mean that Alex won himself back? Part 8. The Lantern Within. The morning after the competition. Sunlight streamed into Alex's room like a quiet visitor. His certificate rested on the desk, still smelling of fresh ink. But instead of staring at it with pride, he looked at his notebook. The same notebook that had once been empty, heavy with dust and excuses. It was full now, bursting with sketches, notes, and scribbles. Each line told the story of his battle. The mornings he had failed, the nights he had risen, the doubts that had clawed at him, and the stubborn little victories that had stitched themselves into discipline. For the first time, he understood something. Success wasn't a single day on stage. It was every small decision he had made when nobody was watching. He walked outside, and the town greeted him differently. Strangers nodded with respect. The younger boy from the library ran up, clutching a printout of the Time Lantern app. "It works!" he shouted. "I finished my essay before midnight." His joy glowed brighter than any trophy. Alex laughed, patting the boy's shoulder. "Good. But remember, the lantern is only a guide. The fire has to come from you." Those words surprised him. They sounded like something his grandmother would say. Later that week, he visited the professor who had told him the bamboo story. The old man listened quietly as Alex recounted his journey. When Alex finished, the professor leaned back and said, "So, you learned the truth. Laziness is not the absence of talent. It's the absence of small steps. And once you master steps, even the tallest mountain bows before you." Alex nodded slowly. The image of the bamboo strengthening its roots finally made sense. His weeks of struggle had been his roots. The prize was just the tree breaking the surface. But life, he knew, would not always bring applause. There would be other challenges, other rivals, other whispers of, "I'll start tomorrow." The difference now was that he carried his own lantern inside him. He had learned how to chip away at laziness, how to shrink mountains into steps, how to keep walking even after falling. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Alex stood on the rooftop of his house, watching the town lights flicker awake. He thought of Mira, of the purifier, of all the competitors. Each of them had fought their own battle. Each of them carried their own story. But his story, the boy who nearly drowned in laziness, who turned excuses into fuel, who built a lantern out of his own weakness, that story was his victory. He raised a certificate once, then set it aside. For tomorrow, he told himself, he would wake early, open his notebook again, and begin something new. Not because a judge demanded it, not because a prize awaited, but because he finally understood the secret that had once eluded him. Success is not built in a moment of brilliance. It is built in the quiet war between action and delay, a war fought step by step, until one day, without realizing, you find yourself free. And in that freedom, Alex smiled, for he knew his lantern would never go dark again. Sparkle's grammar and vocabulary focus. This conclusion uses symbolism. The lantern is no longer just an app, but metaphor for self-discipline. Expressions like chip away at laziness and quiet war between action and delay are idiomatic, painting abstract struggles in vivid images. Notice the past perfect tense in a notebook that had once been empty, showing how the past changed compared to the present. Speech balloon practice questions. 1. What lesson did Alex finally understand about laziness and success? 2. How did the boy from the library prove the value of the time lantern? 3. Can you retell the professor's bamboo metaphor in your own words? Thank you for watching this story. If it inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. In the comments, tell me, what small step will you take today to fight laziness and move toward success? Sparkles,